Hello everyone. Today I am starting a new course called Random Math. But uh I think it's just gonna be like algebra and trig and some shit. Anyways, today I am here to teach you on the basics of algebra. So basically algebra is about finding unknown values. For example, x plus 3 equals to 0. Now, before we get into actually solving them, we need to know learn what an expression is. An expression is basically an equation that makes it true. So, for example, x plus 3 is an expression. X plus 3 equals to 0. Wait, no. I think x plus 3 is an equation and not an expression because it has a definite answer. Heck, x itself is also an expression, I think. Yeah. So let's learn how to actually solve them, because otherwise we're just going to because So first up, we have to, in order to find x plus 3 equal, if x plus 3 is equal to 6, and we want to find x, to isolate x, we have to find the inverse of plus 3, which is negative 3. And then we subtract 3 on both sides. And then the plus 3 and minus 3 cancels out, and this just becomes 3. So therefore, x is equals to 3. Yeah? Now, in terms of expressions, x plus, adding up two different terms is x plus a, and subtracting two different variables is x minus b. Multiplying two different variables, however, is not a times b. It can be ab, or sometimes it can be like an ab or something like that. And for division, it's usually expressed as a fraction, so it's a over b. And this entire course is actually assuming that you know how everything else works before that. Yeah? Alright, next let's try another equation. So, obviously, we got 2x, which is just 2 times x, and then minus 5 equals to 11. So what do we do here? We find the inverse of minus 5, and then which is plus 5, and then we add 5 on both sides. The minus 5 and plus 5 cancel out, and this just becomes 16. However, there is another step, because we want to find x, not 2x. So in order to isolate the x from the x, we have to divide both sides by 2, right? So this just becomes which is equals to this just becomes x is equal to 8. Yeah? So if we have an equation and there is an operation that we need to find x, then we apply the inverse of the operation to isolate x. Now, for this one, this is actually known as combining like terms. because when we have 2x plus 5x, the variables are the same. So we can just simplify them. So this becomes 7x minus 3 equals to 5x minus 4. And this might seem a little tricky, but in this case, we subtract the variable that's on the right. So this would be 5x plus the inverse of 5x, which is just negative 5x. So 5x minus 5x, then minus 5x on both sides. This would become 2x, and the 5x minus 5x will just cancel each other out. And then from here, we can add 3 on both sides, since 3 is the inverse of negative 3, giving us 2x is equals to negative 1. And then from here, we divide both sides by 2, giving us x is equal to negative 1 over half. Or you can also write this as negative 0.5. Either answer is completely fine. So expressing them as a fraction or a decimal is it's still correct. It's still the same. But we would really recommend using fractions, since decimals can be quite problematic when we go to denominators. We know fractions with prime numbers as the denominators. For example, 1 over 13 is equals to 0.076923, and the last 6 digits are perpetually repeating. So there's a lot of numbers fractions or reciprocals which numbers are perpetually repeating, and therefore it is more recommended to use fractions so that they're easier to deal with. Okay, so let's try one last problem before we go, yeah? 2x minus 4x plus 2y equals to 9 minus 9 plus 2y. Now I noticed, okay, this is actually pretty complicated because we're dealing with 2 different variables here. And a variable in this case, a variable is basically like finding an unknown value. But this is actually kind of easy because we can subtract 2y on both sides. The 2y's cancel each other out, and they also cancel each other out, giving us 2x minus 4x is equals to 9. And then 2x minus 4x, we can combine like terms to give us negative 2x equals to 9. Then we divide both sides by 2, giving us 9 over 2. And then divide both sides by negative 1 to give us negative 9 over 2. Alright, well that basically pretty much sums up how the expressions and evaluation of linear expressions. The next video I will actually be teaching you about expansion, defactorization, and how to solve basic nonlinear equations. Alright? Okay, see you guys later. I hope this doesn't confuse you. Have a good day. Bye.